Interviewing and interrogation is not just about asking questions, it's finding the right topics to ask questions about. Find the topics and you can topple deception. Let's check out tip number 45. Hey, welcome back. Stan Walters with you again on Interview and Interrogation, tip number 45. In the past, we've been talking about spotting deception. We've talked about verbal cues, we talked about body language cues, and the last episode we talked about was actually picking up cognitive dissonance, the point of deception. So first of all, we got to accurately spot where deception might reside. But here's the key of how you begin to topple deception. Remember that subjects will target particular areas often with their deception. That's going to be people, places, and time. So often you're going to see the deception is located around those particular areas. As you're identifying deception points, don't become so excited and celebrate, hooray, I caught him being deceptive. That's all well and good, but what are you going to do about it? Pay attention and you notice that there are particular topics the subject will always seem to center around. Now, it might be a jump in time that you see, the next thing you do, after a while, that type of stuff. We talked about our time cop episode several tips back. Go back and look at that one. We talked about cognitive dissonance in our last episode. There's denial behaviors, trust me, believe me, and so forth. And we're going to explore some more of those a little bit later. But what area does your subject have the biggest reaction? What are those topic areas? That's what we need to focus on. Now, I want you to follow me for a minute, and I have no research, I have no empirical evidence support I'm going to tell you, but I want you to think just a minute about your subject. Think about all the interviews that you've had. Think about the interviews you had where the subject was telling and fabricated a story. Think back, were there ever more than 3 or 4 key points to that deception? Wasn't more than 3 and 4, right? What do you think that might be? Well, first of all, we talked about deception itself. It's a complex process, and you got the baseline, you got your reality monitoring we talked about, creating the episode, creating the substitute, remembering it, supporting it, reading the other interviewer, or reading the interviewer's behavior, monitoring my own behavior. So that creates a great deal of cognitive load. Okay, we've got that part. But find the topic. What was it the subject's talking about? Maybe it's about the cocaine use. Perhaps it's about a particular point in the timeline. The next thing I knew, after a while, after a couple of hours, for example. Maybe it's focusing on the vehicle running out of gas, for example, in the case that I had. What does the subject react to the most? And find those 3 or 4 target topics. In our narrative interview, remember we had orientation, narration, cross-examination, then resolution. What do I focus on in cross-examination? We've done great at trying to spot deception. Now's the time to bring home the topic area. Most subjects can't stabilize more than 3 to 4 points in a good lie because it's too much to keep up with. It's too much cognitive load. So think of it like this. Now right now, this is a regular stool I use, I sit on so I can be still, so be center frame of the camera. But that stool has 4 legs to it. What would happen if somebody broke one of those legs or sawed half the leg off? What would happen to my ability to be stable on my stool? Be kind of hard, right? Okay, think of a 3-legged milking stool. What if somebody removed one leg or broke one leg or sawed off half of the leg of the 3-legged milking stool? It'd be really hard to keep your balance. Think of that in terms of your subject and the topics they deceive about. They must keep those 3 to 4 points together. Once you've identified those places by looking for the possible lie signs or at least significant incriminating potential, follow up with questions on that area. Follow up with questions about the feeding. Follow up with questions about the cocaine. Follow up about the weapon. Follow up at the time, and take it from a general point of view to very specific. Go back and look at our Googling segment. Several episodes back, about 10 back, I guess it's going to be, how to Google your subject and you target that topic area. For example, we talked about Plummer, Jefferson County, and so forth. Zero in your questions to those 3 or 4 points, but only pick one at a time. So once you find those 3 or 4 topics, focus your questions on that particular area. Once you destabilize deception by breaking down or disrupting the subject's confidence in that particular part or one of those 3 or 4 parts of the story, the whole statement begins to collapse. Now, with victims and witnesses being honest, it tells you there's a problem in that area that may be emotional or whatever, disruptive because of that emotional response. Then you need to address that to begin with, correct? Look for those 3 or 4 places and you zero in on the topic, asking in-depth, Google searching those questions, challenging, asking for more specific details, asking for more specific information, asking more on the timeline, and start to put pressure on that target area. And watch what happens to subject story as it begins to collapse in on itself. So remember, look for the target areas. We're looking for deception. You're looking for the hot spots. Okay, once you find the topic, and there's usually only 3 to 4, more than 4, they seem like they can't manage it. It's just too much to keep going. Zero in your questions in that area. Don't harass, don't intimidate, that's not it. You just need more information you want them to explain to you to help clarify in your mind about that specific area. And what the subject's going, oh my God, that's the one point, and they really will work harder and you will energize the life signs that way. Got that? So topics to topple deception. Look for those topic areas. Super. Okay, now be sure to subscribe again to the YouTube list if you haven't been on here before. Be sure to look at our online courses. Got some great courses there, some 1-hour courses and 3-hour blocks that you can work on. Other resources on my website that can add to your learning process. Remember, if you're not learning, you're losing. Great to be with you. See you again for tip number 46. Until then, be safe. This is Stan Walters. See you soon.